Hello and welcome back to Logan Sounds Off. Today on my podcast, I'm interviewing the photographer Chris Cuffaro. He's taken photos of your favorite musicians, whether it be Kurt Cobain with Nirvana, Eddie Vedder, as well as many, many more. Grunge isn't his thing. Isn't just his only thing. We've got a lot to talk about. He's had a very extensive career. Chris, how are you?
I'm great, actually. I'm actually good, actually. I feel pretty good today. I don't know why. There's something weird going on.
It's Saturday, so
Yeah, and I'm having my coffee, so I'm good.
yeah, I'm pretty happy today as well. But because of the time difference, it's early in the
Yep.
morning for you, late in the evening for me. It's 4 o'clock over here. We're
Yeah,
later
yeah.
into the afternoon now here, so that's it's nice that we're all in a good mood. Um, so Chris, for
Let's
those
go.
who don't know you, could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So I live in Los Angeles. I've been here for 44 years now. I started my photography career at 10 years old, my business at 12 years old. I knew I was going to be a photographer literally from the first roll of film I shot. I said, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. Um, I grew up in the Bay Area, San Francisco Bay Area, so music was a big deal, but it wasn't my first passion for what type of photography I wanted to do. I wanted to be a fashion photographer. I started shooting concerts when I was 16, sneaking my camera in and stuff, just for fun. But around 25 years old, 24, 25 years old here in Los Angeles, I had a mentor kind of tell me that if you love music, that's what you should shoot because you're not going to do fashion, not in Los Angeles. So I got into the music game around 25 years old and have never looked back. I've been blessed to meet my heroes. I've been blessed to shoot my heroes. I've been blessed to ask stupid questions to my heroes and embarrass myself. But yeah, I always tell everybody about me is that I mean, to shorten it up, is that it's the tagline for my greatest hits project, which is I have a million stories and the photos to prove it. And that to me, I always tell people is the kind of life I've wanted to live and I have lived, if that makes sense.
That's really brilliant, Chris, and a great introduction for anybody who doesn't know you as well. We're going to be getting to greatest hits and some of your heroes as
Yeah.
well further into the podcast. But just starting off, when you were a kid listening to music, I know you were exposed to tons of different genres and musicians growing up. And I know some of those bands and groups included the Beatles. For a lot of people, that's common factor, and
Yeah.
Earth, Wind, and Fire
Yeah.
as well. So I wanted to just ask you, because of that diverse range of people who you listen to growing up, could you tell us of some of the some more of the bands or musicians that you were listening to, maybe from just being a child and teenage years, that kind of
Yeah.
part of your life?
Well, Logan, like, we have talked in the past about, about when you're young like you, I think it's the best time to get exposed to that stuff because the older you get more stuck in your opinions and what you likes. I'm the youngest of four, so I was blessed to have my older brother, my second oldest brother, and my sister all liking different kinds of music. So I had my parents who liked different kinds of music. Then my grandparents lived next door, so I listened to if I didn't listen, I heard everything. So I always say my taste in music started when I was about your age, when the Jackson 5 came out, and I was listened to a lot of R&B music as a kid, and then I got into high school, and that was the main thing. Like I listened to rock and roll. I loved the Beatles since they came out. I remember seeing them on TV when they first got here. But it was my musical taste is in R&B, 70s R&B and I'd say disco. Like I grew up at a time when Earth and Fire was massive and Commodores and Rick James and Rufus and Chaka Khan, and those are all my first. To this day, that's what I go to when I listen to music. I don't really go, oh, I'm gonna go play some grunge. I can't remember the last time I played a grunge record or anything from the 90s. I probably play more 80s music now than I did in the 80s. I mean, you heard bands like in the 80s, like, Flock of Seagulls or Duran Duran and ABC. I loved it back then, but I didn't listen to it as I listen to it more now. It makes me laugh. Like in the 80s, I was listening to Genesis. I was a big fan of Genesis and all that they did and that kind of music. And I was into, of course, R&B, but I listened to everything and I had favorites in everything. And in the 70s, I got to see a lot of great shows. I did a blog post this year at one point where I wrote a list of all the concerts that I saw while I was in high school, and it blew me away. And my friends couldn't believe it either. I saw amazing bands and performances. I saw Fleetwood Mac and Electric Light Orchestra and Journey and Blondie and Earth, Wind and Fire 6 times. And we concerts were like religion for us. I mean, it's not like it is today where there's too much of everything and it's all a blur to me. I don't know who anybody is anymore, but it was a good time. And I growing up in the San Francisco Bay Area, we had lots of different kinds of music to choose from. That was the best part.
It sounds like a really diverse mix and perfect for just growing up to be exposed to all of that. It sounds really, really cool.
For
And
sure.
if you want to see all those gigs that Chris went to see, I'm going to link that blog post down below, as well as everything Chris. So
Yeah.
so everything Chris Cuffaro related. Don't worry, you'll find
No,
it
you're
in
not
the
going to do
description.
everything because there's a lot of things I can't tell you about.
Oh yeah, well I mean the website and your social media
I
and
know, I
everything,
know.
Chris. So if you
Uh,
want to find those, make sure to follow Chris
but
and
like,
stay up to date.
yeah, but like I tell people all the time, I was lucky to, to see all this music, but I always laugh about it when I think about it, though. I wasn't at that time going, oh, I hope someday I get to shoot this person and shoot their album cover. I didn't think that way. I was just like going to the concerts. And then fast forward like 10 years later, I'm shooting these people's album covers and I'm going, oh my God, I am meeting this person and I'm shooting them. And, I talk about this. I think I've talked about this in the past that the second official music shoot I did was Maurice White from Earth, Wind and Fire. And they were gods to us in high school. Earth, Wind and Fire was everything. And there I am, 25 years old, shooting my hero. And then he invites me to his house to go over the photos. I'm like, okay. And I go to his house. I'm hanging out, just him and me. He's telling me stories about this and that. And I've told him what a fan I was. It was just one of the wildest moments. And when I'm driving home, I start crying and I'm just crying going, damn, I want to meet all my heroes. Was the best day ever, 25 years old and meeting one of your heroes. I'd never even dreamed that, life changed.
Yeah,
So
I can totally see that, especially where you're saying you wanted to take photos of all your heroes. You actually went pretty far with that, where we mentioned there the Beatles, obviously Maurice White from Earth, Wind and Fire as well,
yeah,
George Harrison from the Beatles, like really cool people. And I love how casually you're just name dropping
I
these.
know.
And I've said that
Besides,
to you before. It's just
I
mad.
know, I know. So I always tell people this. You're not in Hollywood. Someday you're going to come to LA and you and I are going to hang out and I'm going to take you around and introduce you to everybody. But what's funny is I always tell people in LA, people like to drop names, and it's kind of a habit. And so we run around, when people start dropping names, we put our hands out so we can catch them. Please drop your names and we can catch the name. So I always joke about like I try not to. I'm really aware and I try not to drop names, especially when you're just hanging out with people. Yeah, last week I was shooting, George Harrison, like no, shut up. Nobody cares. But it's funny to me that I tell people all the time, if you want to play the game, drop names. I'll beat everybody.
Yeah,
I'll beat everybody. So I
yeah.
don't play that game with me because I'll beat everybody.
And that is true. Like on the Greatest Hits app, it was kind of like the first time I downloaded, I went, oh, I can't wait to check out the app. And I went onto Hits and I went, whoa, 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 like scrolling through them. There's name after name after name. It's really, really cool.
Yeah.
Um, as well, obviously links to that below. But I'd love to just speak to you about where you're speaking about all your music heroes, and it's insane. And obviously, what comes to mind is have you ever been starstruck? But after speaking to you before, I know you haven't been starstruck. You have these specific types of moments that you have. I wonder, could you explain to the listener
Yeah.
what moment you have when
So
you're with these
yeah,
people?
we've talked about this in the past, but like, yeah, I have what I call it's a combination of holy fuck or what the fuck or wow or why am I here? Like this does makes no sense. And I've had those moments where I'll give you a couple of them. I think I told you this last time. My first time touring with George Michael in 1988, we did Australia, and on the way back we stopped in Hawaii for 2 shows, and Elton John met us there, and we went to dinner, and I'm at the dinner table with George and Elton, George's manager, my mentor Michael, and a couple, like three other people. I mean, there was like maybe six of us at the table, and I'm just sitting there going, "Why am I here? This makes no sense. I should be at the kids' table." And I asked the manager, who's my friend, I said, "Can I? Is there a kids' table I need to sit at? Because you guys are the adults. Don't belong here." And he laughed. He said, "No, you belong here, Chris." And then it's like, "Elton, can you please pass the salt? I can't reach it, And you're like, what the fuck,
Why am
And
I saying this?
yeah, and at the same time, who else was there? I just remember this. We were on the beach one of the days, just, in between shows. And Neil Young, do you know who Neil Young is from Crazy
Oh
Horse?
my God, Neil Young. I actually have a Neil Young and Crazy Horse album, one of their live
Oh,
albums.
okay. So
Yeah.
I had shot Neil a couple years earlier for Musician Magazine, but he comes walking down on the beach, all hair everywhere and just a mess. Comes walking down on the beach and sits next to the manager friend, because I always hung out with him. And we're sitting in a little, me, the manager, Neil, and I'm just sitting there again. It's like, I think I should leave. I don't belong here. This is too weird. Like, what am I doing? I don't belong here. And Neil was just the nicest guy ever. And I reminded him, "Hey, I shot you, down in Irvine." And he's like, "Oh, okay." Like, you could tell he's like, "Who the fuck are you?" But I was like, I didn't care. But I've had those moments, that I was just literally talking to a friend about this yesterday, about never being disappointed. One of my friends was extremely disappointed. I won't name the actor's name, but he was just heartbroken because the actor treated him like shit. And I said to him, knock on wood, that I have never been disappointed by anybody. I've had some, grumpy people. Nick Cave is grumpy, but he's always grumpy. So, but I've never been disappointed, and if anything, have been, you know, overwhelmed by the kindness of most of these people. So that that that's why I tell people all the time, my young friends, my young musician friends, I tell them, you don't know who you're inspiring, so be nice. You have no idea that some kid is listening to your music now going, "Ooh, I want to be like you." So if they meet you, be nice, be the nice one, and inspire them, because otherwise, what the hell are you doing? And I don't know. I was always taught at very young ages, be nice, be nice.
And it goes so far, and I think that's a really good thing to tell younger musicians. I think that's really, really
Yeah.
intelligent.
Nobody, because like, how like you look up to somebody, like, right, you look up to somebody and you go, "Oh, Neil Young's amazing." And then if you meet him and he's an asshole, that like, oh wow, that hurts. But if somebody's looking at you going, "Oh, I want to be like him," and they meet you, be nice to them, because you just don't know what that influence might do to their lives. And I don't know. Like I said, I've been around, and I always tell people how nice George Michael was. God, was he was so nice to me. And we used to have these conversations between the two of us. We would just, go editing photos together and just sitting in a hotel room, just going through these photos. We'd had the funniest conversations about the funniest stuff. And I walked away after a year of working with him, just going, that guy is just, people don't know that guy that I knew. And he was just a nice, but like I said, I could say that about a lot of people. George Harrison, I think I've told you, when I shot George Harrison, I was supposed to get 15 minutes with him. 15 minutes. I ended up getting 2 hours. So, because he was so nice.
That's just a little bit more, yeah.
Yeah. And he answered this is 1985, I think. He answered my stupid questions about the movie Hard Day's Night, which is my favorite movie. But like, he didn't have to. He could have said, "I'm busy, I gotta go." But he sat there with me discussing movie making, and soundtracks and music. It was crazy. I was just like, thank you. Made my day.
That's really wild. That's so awesome. And like obviously we're kind of now at this point where you photographed so many interesting people during the 80s. But
Yeah.
somewhere where I kind of started when I was starting to discovering your greatest hits, it was kind of more in the 90s. Just starting to discovering things via chance. It was just through the
Yeah.
90s. And I thought it was very interesting because you have taking pictures of Pearl Jam along with so
Yes.
many other like bands like Bush, Nirvana. It's insane. Melvins, like so many. But
Yep.
before we get into all that, um, you also took a video for Pearl Jam, and I'd love to just speak about this for a sec. But this was the first original video for Jeremy, and then it
Right.
was shelved, unfortunately. Um,
So
and sorry, just
no, go
wanted
ahead,
to
go ahead.
ask, like, for you taking these shots and positioning just as a photographer, how is it different lining up shots and things between videography and photography?
Okay. So I'm going to tell you a secret, and to everybody who's listening. The day I moved to Los Angeles, um, my mentor, my big brother, says to me, "You're only as good as the people you surround yourself with." If I were to, if I booked a studio right now and got the best assistants, the best makeup, and the best hair, and let's say I got, you know, let's say I got, uh, let me think, Taylor Swift, and I got all the best crew in the world and handed you the camera and said, "Take pictures, Logan." You could do no wrong. It doesn't matter what you shoot. It's Taylor Swift, and she's going to look amazing. You got the best lighting people. So at an early age, I learned surround yourself with the best. So when I went to make this music video, I got the best. I got one of the most, at the time, the best cinematographers in Martin Coppin. I got the best producer, Valerie Druckmann. I got the best crew. I just surround myself with the best. And I just sat back in I came with the idea and told him this is what I want. Cause I don't do motion operations and I don't shoot motion. I'm not a fan of it. So I just got surround myself with the best and got the best editor to edit the video. So it's that. And then I got Pearl Jam at the time and I got the song Jeremy, which they weren't even going to use as a single. The record label's like, go ahead and do that because we're not going to use this song as a single. So that's why I got that. And Eddie's, stood up for me and management stood up for me and got the label to let me do it. But you just surround yourself with really good talent and you can't go wrong. It makes the job easier and makes it fun. You know what I mean? I've always believed that. Again, I go back to the rule of it's not what you shoot, it's who you shoot. So in directing, it's the same thing. If I get a good crew, my job's easy. I just go action, cut, like one more time, action, cut, like it's just so easy. So get yourself the best people. And at the time with Pearl Jam at the time, I had a good relationship with the band and the management and everybody. We were all kind of together on a lot of stuff. So my goal was just to create a music video. I didn't care what happened to it when I was done. And I thought they would end up using it, but they didn't. And that was fine with me. They got Mark Pellington to direct the one that won all the awards, that won Video of the Year that year. So I was fine with it. I didn't care. I did my video for one reason, just to prove that I can do a music video. That's it. I proved it.
And
Next.
you can actually find the video on YouTube as
Yeah,
well. You can find it. I don't know how. Yeah, it's kind of hard to see because obviously, like, I
it's
don't know where
crappy.
it's found. It's low definition, but obviously that's because somebody got it from somewhere, which was
No,
taken
and you know
from
what it
somewhere.
is? You have to realize, Logan, what it was that, we only had we didn't have high def. We didn't have HD back then. So it's standard def. I have the perfect quality copy in a sense, the highest res I could possibly have, and it's still soft and crappy. We shot it on 35 millimeter film, which I wish I had today, but we didn't have high definition, back
Yeah.
then. So that's as good as you're going to see right now. I've asked the label for the film so I could remaster it into 4K, but the band said no, so I can't do that.
Oh, okay. But even still, it's a bit low quality the video, but you can definitely
Fine,
see.
you go ahead. Tell me it sucks. You go ahead.
No. That's not what I was saying at all, Chris.
You're
It's
like,
of
you're like,
course
oh,
not.
Chris, it's.
No. It's a very good video just
I know.
because it's
I
not official. It's like
Yeah.
low
No, I
quality.
know.
It was taken
Can
down
I
from
just,
somewhere,
I
you know.
gotta say, so if anybody watches it, because I'll go on YouTube every once in a while and read the comments, it makes me laugh. But, I always tell everybody, like I said, I'd never directed a music video before that. So if that's my first one, I think I did okay. You
You
know what I
did
mean? It's,
brilliant.
it, it's not perfect by any means. And, but it's like for my first one, come on, I did okay.
It's very good. Like I really like the video. Um Yeah, in no way was I saying it was bad. Just a little bit grainy. That's all. No, it's brilliant though. I can imagine the high resolution
So
version.
I gotta ask you, what's your favorite grunge band, by the way?
Oh, that's really that's kind of difficult. I
Or
don't
do you have a
really
favorite
know.
grunge record?
Um,
10? Bad Motorfinger?
I wouldn't say so. Probably at the moment, the best kind of one for me would be Audio Slave. And I
Really?
know that's kind of strange that I've completely skipped Nevermind and like Melvins and Mudhoney, and I've completely skipped all of those. Honestly, I'm
Yeah.
saying Audio Slave. Just I think it's kind of cool. It was
Yeah.
one of my gateways into grunge.
Yeah.
Cochise is so iconic, and
Yep.
I love that
Yep.
album art.
Yep.
It was the first CD I ever got.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so a pretty strange album to start off with, but it's really good.
I have been trying to I have been begging and trying for almost 20 years now to shoot Tom Morello. I've never shot him, never met him. And
Really?
I've been asking friends of friends and people who know him, and I would die to shoot Tom Morello. I would just love to I keep telling everybody, does anybody know him? Put a call. All I need is 10 minutes. 10 minutes. So I've been trying for years. I'm a major fan of his, not just his guitar playing, which is unique, but I mean, he's
Yeah.
genius. He's brilliant. But I like his way of looking at life and looking at music. That's what impresses me.
Yeah, he's a really interesting character, Tom Morello, and I love his work. I mean, again, Rage Against the Machine, they it wouldn't be exactly grunge. They wouldn't be grunge. They'd
No,
be more
no.
very heavy, kind of rock, rap, metal,
Yeah, yeah,
weird, out there, experimental rock. But they were one of my gateways into like rock music. Growing up, they're really, really good.
Did
I love Rage Against the Machine and
did you ever
Prophets of
hear
Rage.
you ever hear grunge bands like Bikini Kill or The Gits, or I'm trying to think who else I saw back in those days.
I think I've
7 Year
heard of.
Bitch. You ever hear of 7 Year Bitch?
No, I haven't. I think I've heard of Bikini Kill. I'm not very up to date with my
Okay.
grunge lore now. I know practically nothing. Like I still haven't listened to the entirety of In Your Utero yet.
Oh my
I
God.
know. I'm a disgrace. I'm a disgrace, but
Well, it was nice to have this interview. I got to go now.
yeah. It was good while it lasted.
No, but I tell people all the time, about once every couple of years I put Nevermind on and just shake my head going, you don't listen to it and you think, whatever, but then you listen to it, go, yeah, it was as good as we thought it was. It was great. I'll tell you this funny story about that album for your listeners here. So around end of 91, I was out in the desert shooting. This is Chris Cornell and Soundgarden for the Jesus Christ Pose video, and I had an advanced tape of the Nevermind record, and it wasn't out.
Oh,
It wasn't out yet. So I used to always get advanced tapes of everything because my friends at the labels would just, hey, this is coming out in 2 months. You want to hear it? Yeah, okay. So we're out in the middle of the desert, and in between, them filming this music video, we would set on like little chairs in a circle. The sound guard, myself, the manager and stuff. We would just Chris and everybody just talk, shooting shit and talking about stuff. And I'd take pictures once in a while. But I had this tape, and they go, how'd you get the tape? And I said, because they had heard it as well. So I was sitting there with my car parked on the side of the road with the car doors open, playing this cassette in my car, cranking it up while we're waiting. And we're playing Nevermind, you know, song after song. And my favorite song is Come As You Are. I think it's the greatest song ever. And at one
total
point,
classic.
I have to turn the tape over back then to the side B. We're all sitting there just looking at each other going, this album is great. I mean, we were shaking our heads, and Chris Cornell is just going, this is just unbelievable. Like, we were all listening to it just kind of in shock of like how great that record was. And I just remember just the look on everybody's face after every song, just shaking their heads going, oh my God, this is going to be big. I told the manager at the time, at that time, I said to him, this album is going to sell 10 million records. And he goes, no, Chris, it's not. We'll be happy with 1 million. I said, you watch. And So
Sold a little bit more than that, just a
yeah,
little bit more,
a little bit.
just a little bit. Yeah, it's an incredible record. I think what's kind of
Yeah,
sad, yeah, it's kind of sad though for me because I've listened to it so many times now
yeah,
that it's not the same as when I first heard it.
yeah.
It's kind of
Well,
worn for me.
yeah,
For
but
me, like I
yeah,
might fall
no,
back
but
in
that's
love with it.
yeah, but that is true. That's for a lot of music. When you first hear it, you're blown away, and you're just like, "Oh my God, this is amazing!" Like the first time I saw Jane's Addiction play, it changed my life. Before Jane's Addiction playing in 1989, I wouldn't, I wasn't really into the LA alternative scene with, Red Hot Chili Peppers, Jane's Addiction, Thelonious Monk. There was a lot of bands around here, doing things. Fishbone. I wasn't it. That wasn't my scene. I was into, funk and jazz and rock and whatever. But I saw Jane's Addiction play and I was like, whatever the fuck this is amazing. And oh my God, and I bought the Nothing Shocking album and then I wore it out. I played it to death. It's the greatest album ever.
I think that's really, really cool though. And I think even where you're saying like you wore it to death, I just kind of think uh something that I love like about cassettes for some reason I think is really cool. Whereas digitally you have it there forever. Whereas cassettes, when you wear out a cassette, it's kind of cool saying, I love this album so much I wore it out. Like
Exactly.
that shows like your passion. But
Yeah,
I can't listen
exactly.
to it anymore. It's like 0.25 speed, but it's good. Like
Yeah, exactly.
it's
But that was
funny.
that was the fun part was, you know, I don't get it anymore because of Music World, but also because of my age. But it was fun being shocked by something that you or somebody would say to you, "Oh, come to this concert." And I'm like, "Who's that?" And then you would go and you'd walk out going, "Oh my God, what was that?" I remember that happened to me when I saw Joe Jackson the first time and his
Oh,
band.
Joe Jackson.
And
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I saw him at the Wiltern Theater. The label, my friend at the label goes, "I got 2 tickets to see Joe Jackson tonight. You want to go?" I said, "Sure." I like knew one song. I said, "Sure, I'll go. Free tickets? Fuck yeah." So I go and I walk out of the venue going, "Oh my God, what did I just see?" It was
Yeah.
amazing. And so I sat there, called her up the next day saying, "Thank you. Thank you. That was the best show ever. Oh my God. Oh my God." So that's happened to me more than a few times where you don't know an artist that much. You might know a little bit here, a little bit there, one song, but then you go see them and you're like, "Oh my God, they are great." I don't get that anymore.
No, no, I understand that, and especially where like something that I would love to be able to do, but obviously record shops, they're not as spread out now. You don't have a
Yeah.
record shop in your town. For me, the nearest one's 30 minutes away. I'd love to be able to like go in and just pick up a record, take it home and listen. But now like
Yeah.
digitally, you're a lot, which I think there's advantages and disadvantages to both. But like digital,
That's
I
so
get
true.
like I would not know 10% of the music I know now if it wasn't
Yeah.
for streaming as well. That's the other factor. But
Right. No, you're right. You're right. You're
yeah.
so right.
One thing that I'd love to chat to you about, and I know is a very massive project in your career, is
Yeah.
Chris Cuffaro Greatest Hits,
Yeah.
which is really, really cool. And I'd love if you could tell us about what inspired you to start this all up.
Yeah.
Why did you decide to start Greatest Hits?
You should ask the question, Chris, why were you so stupid to start this project?
I don't think so. I think it's a brilliant project. It's really, really cool.
Logan, seriously, you got to be like, dude, what an idiot you are, Chris.
I thought it
No,
was such an interesting concept when I came across it, genuinely.
yeah, I know. So basically, what it was my whole career, I never liked attention. I never liked anybody. I was always, at a party or an event, I was the guy who hit against the wall in a corner somewhere. And I was brought up as a photographer. We don't talk about our work. We don't talk about, "Oh, I shot so and so and I did this and look at this," and like everybody does today. I was taught, let the photos do the talking. Let the photos do. You want to be, my photographer, go look at my photos and you tell me if what's going on. So my amazing business manager of 25 years, who kind of raised me, adopted me and everything. She was I called her my mom. She passed away a few years ago and she believed in me and first person to love me and believe in me. And from day one, and, yelled at me for 25 years to, shut up and do the work and that kind of a thing. But she passed away, and I spent a year in mourning basically. And I came up out of it came this idea of, I need to let the world know who I am and my photos. I just need to, I need to show her that she was right to love me and believe in me. So I woke up one day and just came up with this idea, and I wrote it all down. And I can show you the actual thing. Then I wrote down what are my goals? If I do this, what are the goals for doing this, And so then I called my three big closest friends and mentors, and I just said, this is what I want to do. And they all said, it's about time. It's amazing. Let's go. And I said, I think I'm going to do a documentary about this. And so the idea was, it started out as 6 exhibitions around the world. I was going to do like LA, New York, Tokyo, London, Paris. And I think we talked about even possibly doing something like, I said to everybody, because I had some connections in South Africa. We talked about South Africa at that point, but it ended up turning into more than that. And it's been more than that since it started. It's now, I've done 20 plus exhibitions. We got two Pearl Jam ones in the works right now for Australia. Already talking about next year in 2025, we want to do, I want to do Europe. I want to do George Michael in Europe. I want to do all these things. But basically what it is, as I tell people, it's a celebration of 30 years of music. Because I want to sound younger than I am, but it's like, but it's basically a celebration of my love of music and photography. Music photography is only a third of my work. I've done this much. It's only that much. And it opened every door for me. And I've been blessed to shoot my heroes and some amazing things, but people don't know that about me. So I do these exhibitions to get people to know that, I call it the guy. They always say, you're the guy that did this. You're the guy that did that. And I'm like, yeah, that's me. So it's a celebration. My goal is to do it for 2 more years, and then we're done.
Wow. And there's a lot of stuff that you've been doing, including, and I'd love to just touch on this quickly,
Yeah.
Your Greatest Hits podcast, which you've been
Yes.
doing for a long time now. You've got a lot of episodes up on SoundCloud. It's a really cool podcast. And I'd love if you could tell us like what inspired doing a podcast and chatting to people about your greatest hits on a
Um,
podcast.
I've been doing podcasting since 2005 and other ways, and doing other things and producing them and stuff like that. As you can tell, Logan, I like to talk. So, and like you a lot, I think we're both curious, right? And that's why we do these things, because you want to talk to somebody. And then when you talk to somebody, you learn things. You learn, I always say 9 times out of 10, you learn never to do that. You also learn, I want to do that, or I want to experience. So I've always liked to interview. Whenever I did photo shoots with these musicians, I would ask questions. I remember sitting down, like I said, having conversations with George Harrison about the Beatles, having conversations with Robbie Robertson about the band, having conversations with Johnny Lydon about the Sex Pistols, having these conversations was just natural for me. And so when I got into podcasting, when I started for Chris Cuffaro, I was just like, I'm going to interview the people, and I'm not taking it seriously. I only do audio. I just wanted to have fun and talking to people. What was it like? I just interviewed a bunch of photographers the last round I did. I do a bunch, and then I stopped doing it for a while. And then I do a bunch. And I'm going to do a bunch when I get back to Australia. But I like it, interviewing photographers that I looked up to and admired and respected. So I have these conversations. Michael Levine, who's one of my favorite photographers, he's like my generation, and Charles Peterson and Lance Mercer. Having conversation with those guys is like great. We speak the same language. It makes it easy for us. But be curious, ask questions. That's how you learn.
That's really, really cool. And obviously links to the podcast will be down below. It's really, really interesting.
Mm.
Definitely check it out. So I'd love to just have a bit of fun chatting to you about you've launched a new website, a new app. It's a big deal, and obviously getting all of this information, because you don't, if having the photo up there was enough, you also decided, how about I put the proofs up there to see the journey of the photo
Yeah.
and a video about how the photo was taken. Could you tell us what was the process like gathering all this information to
So
create this app?
yeah. So Logan, I'm a workaholic and have been my whole life. I'm not married, and I don't have kids, and I don't want to get married, and I don't want kids. I just want to work. My goal is to create the greatest body of work I can while I'm here and have fun doing it. That's it. That's my simple goal. And when we started the project, what I found was, because through the years, people would ask me, "Oh, you shot Nirvana. When was that? And what did you do? And tell me the story behind it." So when we started Greatest Hits, I was like, okay, it's about the stories behind the photo. So I made a video telling the story behind the photo, behind every photo in the Greatest Hits collection. Then I started telling more stories about my life and, shooting in New York or doing this or doing that. The idea for me was as simple, was like, let people know the story, then they can connect to the photo just a little bit more. And that way, you might see the photo and go, you go, "Oh, I love this Nirvana photo." But now you know the story behind it. Oh, okay. Now when I look at the photo, I look at it differently, right? So I like I tell people, and I'm a big proof sheet fanatic, and I'm a bit like, I don't, like I said, I'm crazy. My friends have told me since I was 2 years old that I'm crazy. So I love this stuff. I'm passionate about everything that I do in the life that I live. So I like to express that, and I like to show that, and I like to share that.
Wow, that's truly incredible, Chris, and something that a lot of people love about the Greatest Hits project, and it's really, really important. And obviously, you've got all these things like you love proof sheets, and all these things are put
Yeah.
in. But one touch that I absolutely love, and I actually took some photos with it today,
Yeah.
was the 110B, which
Right.
is a little thing that you can do. Sorry, not a little thing. It's something really cool that you can do on the Greatest Hits app on your phone.
Right.
Could you tell us what inspired the 110B and what it is?
So if you go to the photo section, the hits, and go look at photos of Bad Brains, or I think Gwen Stefani. I think there's a couple others there that were shot with my original Polaroid 110B camera. This is a camera that was made in the 50s, and I had it modified to use at that time Polaroid pack film. So I used that camera for a lot of shoots. Almost every shoot, we would always pull that baby out. And it's old school. So about a year ago, I was talking to my app team. They're down in New Zealand, a company called iSparks. They're amazing. And I said to them, it would be cool if we can make a camera in the app. And they came back to me a few weeks later going, "I think we can do this, Chris." And then they did it. And what I love about it is if you shoot with it, you take the picture and then you have all these little adjustments so you can kind of make it crappy or better or whatever. And it literally looks like my Polaroid 110B camera film. I mean, I printed from that little app prints, and you can't tell the difference. It's amazing. So it's just a camera and a film that's not made anymore, but a camera that I loved getting results from. I just did a photo shoot a few weeks ago with Casey Nicole from back in the Jane's Addiction days. She was Perry Farrell's girlfriend and stuff. We did a photo shoot. I did a couple shots on my little phone with that app, and they literally look like I took them in 1991. It blows my mind. But I've had friends lately are like, I tell people, take pictures with it and then tag me on it so I could see what you guys are doing. But I have this rule, I think I told you or we've talked about. I have this whole thing. My philosophy is about, I like things to be crappy. I don't like perfect. I'm from Wabi Sabi is my philosophy, which is WABI-SABI. It's a Buddhist philosophy, Japanese philosophy, meaning the perfection of imperfection. So I like things to be a little fucked up, as I like to say. I don't like perfect. I don't like perfect. So, and that goes for music too. So imperfection is perfection. So that's what I like about the pictures I get from that app. They're not perfect, but they're perfect. If that
Yeah,
makes sense.
they're really interesting. Like, obviously, the link to download the app will be down below. So if you're on a phone, download the app and try out the 110B and tag Chris. Yeah, and also if you got it from this interview, tag me. I'd love to see your pictures.
Exactly.
Please
Tag us
tag,
both.
yeah, tag us both. We'd love to see it. So
Exactly.
yeah, it's really, really cool, and I just love that. It's such a cool part of the app. And I just want to ask before we have some
Yep.
really fun questions. I wanted to ask, looking back on your career, because you've had a
Uh-oh.
very extensive one from the 80s with those insane moments with George Michael and Elton John, to
Yeah.
shooting the Jeremy video and being with Eddie Vedder and Chris Cornell, getting the Advance and their Nirvana tape, and now the Greatest Hits project. Looking back on your career, how have you as a photographer developed over the years, do you feel personally?
I honestly have to say it hasn't changed much. I grew up, I don't, if you haven't checked out, you need to look at Richard Avedon. He was my hero since I was 10, and his work, his portraiture was very simple. I've always believed simple lasts the longest. And we've talked about this in the past. Simplicity to me is just, it just lasts longer, you know. And I said to you last time that, you know, everybody in the on the planet can hum a Beatles song because they're simple. You can hum, look how simple Nirvana is. They're pop songs with a lot of grunge. But you know, how many people can hum a Frank Zappa tune? That's just about impossible. And you know, we both love Frank Zappa. We both listen to Frank Zappa, but you can't hum, you know, Penguin in Bondage. You can't hum Tinseltown Rebellion. You don't even try, you know. But I like simple, and my photography has stayed that way. Simple. I always tell people it goes back to rule number one. It's not what you shoot, it's who you shoot. So I'm just smart enough to shoot the really good people. You know, that I'm just smart enough to get to George Michael. If those pictures are of just of the same pictures of my friend's Bob, you wouldn't even pay attention to him. It's George Michael though, you know. It's not what you shoot, it's who you shoot.
I think that's a really incredible point, Chris. And you've had a really cool career, and I just have to ask because I know this is really interesting where um now regarding photography, I know photography is something I'd like to do, not as a profession, maybe
Ugh.
something casual, just like when I'm out and about taking photos of
Yeah.
things. I'd love to get into it. I'd love to hear what tips do you have for people who want to get into photography, maybe as a hobby or a profession?
Don't do it as a profession, first of all. Do it for fun. Because it's not easy these days. There's no real money, and it's just not, it sucks the fun out of it, the business. Do it for fun. But I have simple rules. Number one, practice makes improvement. If you don't go out and shoot, you don't get better. It's that simple. You know, it's like playing the guitar. If you don't practice, you don't get good. You know what I mean? That's why I loved shooting guitar players. I would have conversations with these geniuses, these legends, and say to them, how often did you practice when you started? Oh, every day. I picked up the guitar every day, sat in my bedroom and tried to play Stairway to Heaven. And I'd be like, oh my God, I picked up my camera every day. And I thought I was going to be Richard Avedon. You know, so you have to practice, practice, practice. Practice makes improvement. And second rule is most important is, again, it's not what you shoot, it's who you shoot or what you shoot. So take that into consideration in what you're shooting. Third and last is have fun. Just have fun. That's the one thing I love about my life and my career is I've never had an easy day. Today is not going to be easy, but I always have fun. Right. So
That's brilliant.
yeah, I'm going to have fun today. That doesn't matter what you say.
Just having fun. And just for my final question, we're
Yep.
both music fans.
Yep.
Do you have any recommendations of any music that you've been listening to, whether
Oh,
that be in the past or modern, anything at all? Just
okay.
anything. Is there
So
anything that you'd like to
I'm going to
recommend?
I'll drop some names of some new artists. How's that? And these are people I've met in the last probably couple of years. My number one is in LA is Lauren Ruth Ward. She is the best of the best. She's genius. Um, Down in Australia, I met a few artists. One named Dante Knows. He's fucking genius. He's going to be massive. He's from America, originally New York, but he lives in Australia. Dante is amazing. Another singer down in Australia. He's in the reggae dub scene. He's from Trinidad, and his name's Goldfang. He is unreal. His music makes you just. I love the groove. I love the beats. The whole thing. I love Jamaica and I love reggae, so he just hit my nerve when I met him. Then in New Zealand, my favorite is Thea. She's my hero, my queen. Thea, she's the best. There's nobody better. And in New Zealand, I also fell in love with a singer named Tiki Tane and the band called Fat Freddy's Drop. I met the most amazing musicians in New Zealand 2 years ago, and every one of them is brilliant. But Fat Freddy's Drop is one of the best bands, best performed. I saw them live there, and one of the best shows I've ever seen in my life. And yeah, Tiki Tane and MC Tali, who is just unbelievable. There's so many, you know. There nowadays, every time I see my friends post photos of new bands, I just who is that? Like I don't know who anybody is. I feel bad. I feel old, you
Oh, you
know.
shouldn't. Some like, look, there's a lot of music coming out now, but hopefully you, the viewer, got some cool recommendations out of that. And look, Chris, I had a ton of questions here, and
Yeah,
you
it's okay.
that was my final one, and you gave some really cool answers. We had a
Good.
really class conversation, and I love chatting
No,
to you
I
about
love
your
it, Logan.
career.
And you know what we should do? We should do this in another 6 months just for fun, because by then I'll have finished up, these exhibitions, and I can tell you what happened and everything. And then maybe when I come to London next year, I can interview you.
That would be brilliant. And Chris, before we go, let the
Yep.
people know what is your Pearl Jam exhibition and where they can
Yeah.
go and visit you and chat to you about it.
That's a good. I don't even know when it is. So it's going to be in Melbourne. Opening night is the day. Opening day night is November 13th. It's a Wednesday in Melbourne. Then the following week, opening in Sydney is going to be on the 19th in Sydney. And just follow my socials and my websites and stuff like that. And you guys can see all the details. We're going to have an amazing time. We're having a performance night in each city with two amazing bands. I've got artist talk days so I can tell stupid stories about Pearl Jam. I always like to have, give people reasons to come to the exhibitions, not just the photos. I always tell people, look at the photos. Now what are you going to do? It's like, let's have some fun. So I love doing these things. And Pearl Jam's going to be touring in Australia while we're doing this. So we're trying to take advantage of the excitement for Pearl Jam while we're there. And I'm excited this is my 5th exhibition in Sydney. That's crazy. I've done more there than in Los Angeles. So it's fun. I'm gonna have a lot of fun. And I love my Aussie friends. So it's like being home, better than being home.
It's brilliant, Chris. So there you go. Make sure to check that out. Links down below. Follow Chris on socials and make sure to look at his website. Listen out to the podcast. Chris, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast. It's been a great interview. I hope you enjoyed it.
I always do, Logan. Like I said, we should just do this all the time.
Thank you so much, Chris.
You're the best, Logan. I
Have
appreciate
a
it.
great day.
Thank
Bye
you.
bye.
Bye.